Want to be happy? Build a life, not just a business. Hey, it's Carmichael, and this channel was created to help you overcome the #1 challenge that is holding you back, a lack of belief in yourself. You watch these videos because you know there's something more inside you too. You've got Michael Jordan level talent at something. So today, let's live your best belief life and learn from Tom Bilyeu and his insane motivation.
All right, listen and listen well, because no truer words are ever going to be spoken. You can do anything you want without limitation. Whatever it is that you decide you want to make come true in your life, you can do that. It is going to take an inhuman amount of work. You're going to have to be prepared to break yourself in half. You are going to have to learn more than anyone has ever learned. You're going to have to push yourself harder than anyone has ever asked you to push yourself before. You're going to go way beyond your breaking point. You're going to run until you vomit. You're going to study until you fall asleep. You're going to push and push and push, and then you're going to push some more. And when you hit the limit, you're going to push again beyond that. You're going to force yourself into an adaptation response. And why? Because as Malcolm X said, the future belongs to those who prepare for it today. So if you don't put the work in today, if you don't do the unending, back-breaking work of developing yourself into something greater, the world is going to pass you by. The people that are going to own it are going to be the ones that did that work. And the one promise that I can make you right now is that somebody out there is outworking you. Somebody right now is doing the things that I'm saying. Somebody right now is doing the work of failing and getting up and getting better and pushing themselves and triggering that glorious adaptation response that makes humans the apex predator. Someone right now, they're putting in that work. And if you don't, the future is going to belong to them. And as Martin Luther King Jr. said, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. It's not okay to make excuses. It's not going to slow people down. It's not okay to ask the world to stop so that you can step out front. It's not okay to expect little of yourself and demand great rewards. The only thing that's okay is to be in line with the way that the world really works. And if you want to be great, you've got to become capable of greatness. You've got to develop your skill set. You've got to take what you have now, and if that's crawling, then crawl, but you drag yourself ever forward to a vision of yourself that is so clear and so specific that nothing could knock you off your path, because you, my friend, know exactly where you're going. You're willing to pay whatever price it takes to get there, and no matter what anybody says, no matter how many hecklers come for you, no matter how many people try to throw dirt on you, try to stop you, try to knock you down, no matter how many people come for you at night while you sleep, you will rise and you will keep pushing forward, and you will get better every day. And no matter how many times people chop at you, knock you down, knock you off the path, you will get back on. You will crawl till you can walk, you will walk till you run, and then you will run until you fly. And that, my friends, is the only path forward. So if you want a future that makes you happy, if you want a world that you're excited about, get your ass out there and earn it. I hear people talk about luck a lot, and I know that people think about the role that luck plays in their life. But the reality is, luck is all around. Luck is ever present. Luck literally is coming to you every day. It's passing you by. It's happening to you right now. But the question is, are you able to take advantage of the luck? Have you prepared for the luck? And I think that it comes down to we have a misconception about what luck is. We think of luck as something as being passive, that we sit, we wait, we're in some obscure place, and still somehow the luck finds us. But the reality is we're awash in luck. What we're missing is the ability to make use of it. If you have a bunch of bullets but no gun, you really have nothing. If you have a gun but no bullets, the same thing. The magic moment comes together when you have two things that work in conjunction and you have them both. You can't have luck without the diligence. You can't have success without the skills. You've got to spend your life preparing to capitalize on that luck. And to look at what somebody has done, to look at a moment of success in their life and to say that it was luck, is to create a frame of reference for you in which you can't see how you yourself could leverage what you have to get lucky. So many people are obsessed with becoming perfect that they never take action and they never learn to enjoy this moment. That may be one of the greatest tragedies any of us can face. That right now, whatever we are, however good we are, whatever we've accomplished, that we fail to enjoy this moment because we have a judgment about who we are deep down, because we haven't acted in a way that's perfect. And I get it, we have this drive, it's innate in us, we want to be great. It's one of the 5 primary human drivers to pursue mastery, to want to master something and truly be extraordinary. I understand the drive, but don't let it corrode you. Don't ever do something that eats you alive from the inside. You've got to have a vision of yourself that allows you to morph and change and learn from your mistakes. But if you value perfection over learning, then you're never going to become the person that you'd be capable of becoming. And as Anna Quindlen said, the thing that is really hard and really amazing is giving up on being perfect and beginning the work of becoming yourself.
Now I'm going to tell you a story, and this story pisses people off. And it goes like this. My wife, who happens to be British, big it up for England, let's say that she is with her mom, and she's in the bedroom that she grew up in. She's all safe and sound, the door's locked, the alarm is on, her mom's in the next room making sure that she's safe. But right then, a meteorite comes screaming through the atmosphere, crashes into her bedroom, and kills her. Whose fault is that? I know some have listened to my content. I will tell you that right now. Now, if people don't know me, everybody goes to, it's dumb luck, divine providence, it's nobody's fault, how could you blame yourself? Well, let me tell you how I could blame myself. And when you hear the reality of this and you realize that I am in no way, shape, or form being hyperbolic, it actually is my fault. Here's why. I know right now there is an organization that track what are called near-Earth objects. In fact, I'm on the board of the X Prize. One of the prizes that they're trying to raise money for is for this problem, to track all these known objects and to find some way, lasers, planted nuclear explosions, something, to make sure that if something is ever on a collision course for Earth, that we can stop it. Literally, 4 weekends ago, I had a chance to vote for this, to say this should be a prize, and I didn't. So now, not only have I never sent a dime of my money to help, I've never sent an email with encouraging words, I've never called them up to tell them what I think they should do. Now I literally voted against them. So, if a meteorite happens to kill my wife, I don't have anyone to blame but myself. That's so apparently true. Now, I think it's the right decision. I think that putting the time and energy into something that has such a vanishingly slim possibility of actually happening makes no sense. You have to know where to put your energies. All of us have a finite amount of energy. So you at some point have to triage and decide what are the things that I'm going to attack. I'm far more worried about my wife getting into a car. The likelihood of her dying is almost certainly going to be, at this point, something to do with heart disease or something to do with an aneurysm, things like that. It most certainly isn't going to be a meteorite crashing through the roof and killing her, but if it did, I wouldn't waste time blaming anyone else. Now the key here, I wouldn't beat myself up over it. I would be crestfallen. My wife is my everything. It would be a loss so devastating I don't even want to comprehend it. But I just wouldn't waste time blaming anyone else. Because the reality is, and let this come home, your life is the exact reflection of the choices you have made. Love your life? Great, you've made awesome choices. Hate your life? I'm sorry, you've made bad choices. But the good news is, you're in control.
Sticking with your good habits is extremely hard because they're boring. So whenever something is boring, it's because somebody's pursuing something that they actually don't give a shit about. And that's the problem. So for instance, eating healthy food all the time isn't thrilling in the way that, say, eating a bag of Oreos is, or black licorice, which is a personal favorite of mine, or fried food, which is truly my weakness. That stuff is fun, man. You want to talk about a dopamine cascade? I could take a random Tuesday and make it feel like a Saturday night just by deciding that I'm going to cheat on my diet. Now, I don't do that. I cheat maybe twice a year. So it is, when I say it is crazy rare, and yet my life is full of things that thrill me. And I use that word on purpose. Now, what it comes back to is going back to the whole topic of today, habits and how you stick with them, even when you're bored, even when it's not interesting anymore, long after it stopped being fun. The very secret to habits is caring about the thing that habit is meant to lead to. But for real, like really, what do you care about? And for instance, here is a life I pass no judgment on. Man, because if this is what you want and it like you love it and you're filled with fulfillment, it's amazing, great. If you want to sit at home all day and you want to cut your life to the absolute quick financially so that you're living in a tiny hovel with 5 other people, fine. And you're eating Tina's burritos. I don't even know if they still exist, but when I was way hardcore poor, they were awesome because it was 3 for 99 cents, which was amazing. So I could live off of that, and you're cool. You boil it down to nothing. You don't have a car, no insurance, nothing, and you accept that my life is going to be shorter than it would otherwise be, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to smoke weed a lot, and I'm going to eat bad food a lot. Man, respect. Like if you do it with your eyes wide open and you're loving it and you're having a great time, the only reason that you never hear me talk about that stuff is from my experience, from what I've seen of other people, the only thing that gives the human animal the best feeling, which is to feel good about yourself when you're by yourself, is to do the hard things and to do things that bring fulfillment. And the things that bring fulfillment are often born of momentary suffering, but they allow you to get stronger in order to serve other people. That's it. That's just what I've seen. So I don't think it's better than the alternative that I just described. It's just the only thing that I've seen really lead to that sense of like deep fulfillment. So my thing about the specific part about the good habits are hard to stick with because they're boring, just you've got to attach habits to things you actually really and truly care about. No one can tell you what to care about. You can certainly build that into your life. You can take something that's an interest and build it into something you care deeply about, which I've talked endlessly about, so I won't go into it here, but that is very, very possible. Associate your habits to that thing. Suddenly the habits will be very easy. Don't judge yourself. Live your life the way you want, but respect the realities of neurochemistry.
You've got 2 choices in life. Choice 1, you can become somebody else. Choice 2, you can become yourself. Now, I really wish that there was only one choice, but in truth, there's not. And most people choose to try to become someone else because it's a roadmap. It's points in a direction. You see someone, you respond to something, you admire them, you want to be like them. And in that process, you've made your decision. In that process, you've decided to become somebody else. You have mistaken the finger for the moon. Instead, you need to understand that being inspired by somebody does not mean to become that person, to become that which inspires you. It is to understand fundamentally, what is it about that thing that excites you? What is it? What is its essence? And when you can find its essence, then you can find out how it would apply to you becoming you. And as Zen Shi says, a flower does not think about competing with the flower next to it. It just blooms. And that's really your job, is to see the outside world, to see the flower next to you, to understand the amazing things that are happening all around you, all of the incredible people and the essence of what they have, and what it is that they've done to bring inside yourself and find out what does that look like when it's me. Not what do I look like when I'm them. And once you understand the difference between that, then you can really begin to be something unique. You can become that thing that you were meant to be, that thing that makes you feel alive and whole. And that's it. That's the secret. You're just trying to be something, not that's just inspiring to other people, but that you actually want to wake up every day and be. And that's the thing about it. There's no escaping you. Whatever you become, a lie, the truth, somebody else, yourself, whatever it is, you're going to spend every day of your life there. And as Albert Einstein said, everybody's a genius. But if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. And that's what confuses people. People believe that they're dumb because they're not finding their path. They're not defining things based on what excites them and what they want to live with every day. They're just looking to what the outside world says is good. And I think it's incredible that there are other people doing things that are so extraordinary that we aspire to be like that. But you have to understand the difference between being like someone and trying to actually be them. Here's the hard truth about getting great. It takes time and dedication. It takes a willingness to accept that you're not yet good enough. It takes the ability to stare at the places that you know that you're weak, to really look at those things and not let it affect your sense of self-esteem and not let it affect your sense of self-worth so that you can still get the momentum going. But you have to understand that in the beginning, we're all terrible. And as Henri Cartier-Bresson said, your first 10,000 photographs are your worst. And so the thing that really makes great art are the people that continue to push and the people that continue to work and face how inadequate they are and really understand that at the end of the day, greatness is a craft. Greatness is a process. Greatness is a habit. Greatness is the little things that you do every day, over time, going out every day, unafraid of whether or not this is one of the 10,000 terrible things that you're gonna do. It's being unafraid to make those mistakes. It's being unafraid that you're not yet great. And as Marianne Radmacher said, courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes courage is the quiet voice at the end of the day saying, I will try again tomorrow. And that's it. If you want to be great, that's what you have to do. You've got to get up again tomorrow. You've got to be willing to face another day. You've got to be willing to accept that you've got to get through the bad ideas before you can get to the good. You've got to understand that you have to start as an apprentice. You have to start as a person going and getting tea, and you have to accept that that's the job that you should be playing, that you should be working for somebody else. You should be looking up to somebody else and seeing what they can teach you, because what you know is that you're there to learn. What you know is that you're there to get through the 10,000 bad photographs that you need to get through to ultimately achieve greatness. And if you make the catastrophic error that so many make, to try to tell the world that you're extraordinary today, to try to get the world to follow you and look up to you and think that you're something today. Because the people that really win are the ones that invest today, the ones that listen today, the ones that spend every ounce of their energy amassing mastery, getting better every day, working their asses off to improve their skill set, to relentlessly look at the things that they're not doing well, to understand that they have to break themselves down and get rid of all of their ego before they can really find greatness. Those are the people that we remember. So if you want to be remembered, if you want to achieve real greatness, you just need to have the courage to show up every day and take another swing, take another photo, try another task, do something that scares you, and do those little things over and over and over until you win.
The only thing you have to believe in, lean close, hear my words. The only thing you have to believe in right now is that humans are capable of learning. That humans, for whatever reason, nature has chosen to not endow us with a whole bunch of like pre-programmed things. So for instance, a baby horse, a foal, I believe is how you say that. When they're born, they can already walk. Literally, boom, they come out and they're walking and all is well, because that's all hardwired into them. But a horse is a horse is a horse, and they're going to stay a horse, and that's that. And you're never going to find a horse reading Chaucer. Just not going to happen. So that's all those decisions are pre-wired. Humans, on the other hand, come out. They cannot take care of themselves. They're a lump of flesh. They basically know how to suckle, and that's sort of the extent of it. But now humans have the ability to go in all these crazy different directions, and they can learn to become an astrophysicist. They can learn to become a carpenter, a doctor, an astronaut. Like, the number of directions that humans can go in is crazy. The amount of what was once known as junk DNA, we now know as epigenetic signaling. The way that we can respond in all these different directions to our environment, to the things that we choose to focus our energies on is truly unique to humans, is just absolutely astonishing. So understanding that that's baked into the human animal is the ability to learn and go in any direction. So once you realize that humans are adaptation machines, that we can learn anything, now it's like, okay, whatever you want to do, you can do it as long as you're willing to pay that price. I'm not saying that it's not going to be hard. It is going to be very, very hard. I'm just saying that it is doable and that you will receive a return on investment in your energies. And that's what people need to know and believe to the core of their being, that my time in this direction will be rewarded. Now, here's where people f themselves up. There is this retarded debate about whether or not it is, hey, am I pre-programmed? I'm good at math, and so that's it, and I should go do things that are math, or I'm good at verbal, and I should go do things that are verbal. I'm naturally gifted as an athlete, so I should go be an athlete. Look, I'm not saying people don't get early wins. People get early wins. And if you happen to love the thing that you're getting early wins in, that's awesome, man. And you will find it just a little bit easier. You've got a headwind or a tailwind, I guess, a tailwind. You have a tailwind. And so that, yeah, love that. But if the thing that gives you the most energy in life is something that you have no natural inclinations for, then go learn that. When I say that I have zero natural ability as an entrepreneur, I mean zero. I had to learn everything from not being lazy, to problem solving, to overcoming my paralyzing fear, to look at world like a puzzle, dealing with anxiety. Literally, it was comical as I was going down my journey in the beginning as an entrepreneur to figure this shit out. It's ridiculous. And then I meet people who are like ripping flowers out of people's front yards and selling them back to them. Like, when I say that was not me, I had a paper route, and I was so chicken to go up to people's doors that I actually only got half the money that I could have gotten for the same paper route, the same amount of effort. But because I was so afraid to go knock on people's doors and ask to collect the money that was due, that for like 2 years, I did a paper route for half the money. Okay, that's how spastic of an entrepreneur I was when I started. So you can learn this stuff. Now, my goals demanded that I learn entrepreneurship, so I learned it. So that's what I want people to understand. What is your goal? Work backwards from there. If it lines up with what you're naturally good at, that's amazing, and congratulations. But there are going to be times where it doesn't line up, and you've just got to either change your goal or recognize that I'm going to have to figure these things out. And because I'm an adaptation machine as a human being, I can do all of that.
Your talent and intelligence are not fixed, they're malleable. So you suck at skateboarding because you're afraid of pain. So the only thing you need to know right now, the point is not to avoid the pain, and you need to stop asking yourself, what's the least you can do to get good? And you need to start asking yourself, what's the most you can bear to become great? Once you understand that the whole point is to let the suffering and the pain harden you into becoming the version of yourself that you need to become in order to execute at the highest level, to be world class at anything, and stop avoiding it, stop being afraid of it, and start understanding for what it really is, which is the thing that shapes you. So my entire youth, I feared pain. I moved away from pain. If something was emotionally or physically difficult, I avoided it. And I remember being in the gym one day and going, will you stop asking, like, what's the least you need to do to consider it a full week workout? Because it was like, could I stop now? Could I stop now? Could I stop now? And I was like, do you want the muscles, or do you want to like put on a show that you showed up, like you showed up, right? Like, because the muscles demand what the muscles demand. Like, you have to break them down, you have to push, you have to do more. Like, so it is purely a question of how much you're willing to bear, because there's never going to be enough. You could have always done more.
As Shakespeare noted, there's nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. There's nothing good or bad, right? There's just stimulus and then there's response.
Things happen and they're
right.
given a meaning.
But people think that it is objectively a certain way. So now because they think it is an objectively a certain way, they feel they are supposed to react based on those emotions that are getting kicked up in their mind. What I'm saying is absolutely not. Those emotions may not serve you. They're certainly not aimed at moving you towards your goal. Their job is to keep you alive, plain and simple. So that's not necessarily very helpful in a modern context. So if you want to always be moving towards your goal, you want to be optimizing, you've got to learn to get control of your emotions. You've got to learn to understand to tell yourself a narrative that isn't predicated on necessarily identifying what is objectively true, because I don't think that we experience the world that way. It's identifying what's going to work to get me to my goal. And that to me, like, my whole thing is goal first, everything else works backwards from that.
Like starting from the grand strategy, like identifying it and then building the steps backwards to reverse engineer it essentially.
Correct.
We talk of self-esteem in one of two ways, either as the sole determinant of success or as the ultimate enemy. Most people build their self-esteem around their accomplishments. They feel good about themselves if they're making the most money, they're dating the hottest person, or they've built the best product. They get caught in the rat race of validating themselves against the person who happens to be standing next to them. But there's a fundamental flaw with this equation, because when your ego is that attached to your success, it's devastated by your failures. And what the most successful people know is you cannot leave your self-worth in the hands of anyone else. The most successful people get their pride from a different source, one that does not fluctuate with their successes and failures.
So I knew I couldn't give up my self-esteem. I couldn't accept some weird role where I just was always the dumbass sitting in the corner. If I pride myself on being smart and you tell me I'm dumb and you put up a pretty good case for it, that's gonna damage my self-esteem. My self-esteem in that situation is very fragile. If, on the other hand, you tell me that I'm dumb and I build my self-esteem around being the learner, now I'm gonna say thank you. Please tell me in what way that I'm dumb, because you will open my eyes to something that now I can address and I can go learn about that thing and I will have a new skill and I can go out and push and execute against that skill. One of the most powerful things that you could do is become the person that admits that you're wrong really fast. And it's crazy how much credibility you will earn with people simply by admitting I was wrong. Like 30 seconds ago, I was fighting so hard for something. I was really fighting for my position, and then somebody says something and I realize that's actually better. Imagine that. The more you try to tell me I'm dumb, the more areas that you point out that I'm weak, the more things you tell me I need to learn about, my eyes are open to something that, if true, I'm gonna go down that path and I'm gonna learn how to do that. And that is absolutely critical.
As Martin Luther said, even if I knew that tomorrow the world would go to pieces, I would still plant my apple tree. Some things you build whether you can control the outcome or not. Sometimes it's the process that is the thing that's meant to be enjoyed. It's the process that you're meant to invest in. And rather than always thinking about the goal, the outcome, or what you're going to get out of something, focus on the something. Focus on the part of it that you can control, because you can't always control the outcome. You can't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow's not guaranteed to any of us, and yet we all act. And yet we create momentum in our lives when we're at our best. But we do that not because we can control every aspect. We do that because we accept that there are things that we cannot control. And as Steve Maraboli said, incredible change happens in your life when you decide to take control of what you do have power over, instead of craving control over what you don't. And that's where a lot of people get lost. They focus not on what they have in their hands, they focus instead on the things that they can't control. It irritates them, it frustrates them, it's like a splinter in their mind. They can't stop thinking about the things that they don't have control over. And they're blinded to the incredible wealth that is around them of things that they could enjoy right here, right now. That's why gratitude is such an empowering practice, to sit there and not think of the glorious things that may await you in your future, but rather to think about the things that you have here in this moment. Oxygen in your lungs, a simple breeze on your face, a window in your house, someone that you love, someone that loves you. Nothing that costs money, nothing that was the pot of gold at the end of a glorious rainbow. It's not even about becoming something extraordinary and waiting for the results of that. It's simply understanding that the one thing you can control are your actions today, the choices that you make, what you get to do, how you think about yourself, the beliefs you choose to bring into your life. Those things you control. And when you understand the power in acknowledging that control and taking control and using it, that's when your life is going to begin to change. But first, you have to divorce yourself from being obsessively interested only in an outcome. If instead you build your self-esteem, you build your pride on pursuit. You build your pride on allowing yourself to care about something so deeply that even though tomorrow is not guaranteed, that you're going to plant your apple tree today, that you're going to love that process because it is the thing that you can control. You can control how you show up. You can control how you play. You cannot control how other people react. You cannot control what they think about you. But you can control what you think about yourself. You can earn credibility with yourself. You can control what you do. And when you take full ownership of that and realize that your life is an exact reflection of your choices, of the things that you could control and what you did with them, then everything begins to change. You're not looking to blame somebody else. You're not even worried about anybody else. You're just asking one simple question. What can I do right now, regardless of tomorrow, to improve my life today? Focus there, and you'll enjoy every day of your life.
As Confucius said, when it's obvious that the goal cannot be reached, don't adjust the goals, adjust the action steps. That may be the single best piece of advice you're ever going to get. Write that down, burn it into your flesh, tattoo it on your soul, do whatever you need to do to remember that once you set a goal, once you've decided in your life there is something that you're going to make come true, don't let anything stop you from reaching that. But the reality is, as you go, things are going to get in your way. There will be an inevitable slew of obstacles coming at you. But when it gets so hard that you realize that the path that you're on is simply not going to take you where you want to go, rather than give up on what it was you said you were going to do, find a different path. And in that, when you really make that the cornerstone of your identity, that you refuse to bend or be broken by obstacles, by challenges, but instead you rise to those challenges. You go over, under, through them. You do whatever you have to. You devise any plan to find a way through. Then your life will change. Once that becomes your reaction to not change that thing that meant so much to you, that you dedicated your life to making it come true, that you don't change that, but rather you find another way, you tap into your creativity, you find somebody that can help you, you do whatever it takes to get on the other side of that, you do whatever it takes to build that life that you want to see. But if your reaction is to change your goal, to make it easier, to move it closer, to be less of who you could be, simply so you can check a box, you're never going to have anything that's worth having. We get to decide who we are. There's no objective truth that you're going to find or uncover. You're simply the collection of the things that you believe to be true about yourself. And once you begin to form that opinion of who you are, you'll act in accordance with that belief. You begin to shape a vision of yourself in your own mind, and that becomes the reality. So letting other people influence that, letting other people come in and degrade what you think of yourself is one of the most dangerous and damning things that you could do, because they cloud your ability to craft a vision of the person that you want to become. And that vision is so hard for all of us to hold on to that we have to protect it. We have to keep other people out of that. We've got to have intention in creating the person that we want to become. I don't think people really realize we construct our lives. We build them from nothing. We decide what our goals are. We decide in what way to move. We decide who we're going to become and what we're going to get. But it's a decision. It's a process. It isn't something that somebody hands to you. And so if you find that your life is a misery, understand that your life is an exact reflection of your choices. And if you want a different life, you need only make a different choice. But I know right now, many of you are thinking, but I don't know what way to go. I don't know what choice to make. I don't know what it is that I want to do.
And as Roy Maurice Keane said, I don't believe skill was or ever will be the result of coaches. It is a result of a love affair between the child and the ball. So ask yourself, what's that thing that you love? And don't judge yourself if it was something that you loved as a child that people are telling you you couldn't possibly make money. And it's that part of the equation that I want to break for people. I want you to understand. Stop asking yourself what you can make a lot of money at, and start asking yourself, what would you enjoy? What is that life that you don't need to escape from? What is the life that is your love? What is the thing that as a kid you did, whether people wanted you to or not? What is the thing you would sneak out at night to do because you weren't going to be stopped from doing it? Everybody has something like that in their life. Some spark of interest, maybe long dormant, maybe that they've pushed aside because they think it's stupid. Or maybe they failed once and they think they're bad at it. And even though they love it, that sting of the failure has convinced them to stop pursuing it. But at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is what gives you that energy. At the end of the day, the thing that matters is what fills you with joy. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters, it's not success. And it sure as hell isn't money. It's how you feel about yourself when you're by yourself. It's the things that give you energy. It's what you think about yourself. It's how you react to the hard things. It's whether or not you push through. And when you push through, when you persevere, when you go down the process of taking the time to structure your life, to build it into something that you want it to be, to build it into something that you're proud of, to become the person that's capable of the things that you want to do, that can first fall in love with something and do it for the love of it and not worry about what other people think. If you hate your life, I guarantee you the thing is that you are trapped by what other people think. You don't want to give it up because somebody will think you're a failure. You don't want to give it up because it's a paycheck. You don't want to give it up because you're scared. You're scared you don't know what you'll do next. But imagine a world for a second where all you thought about was what do you love? What do you enjoy in that moment? It doesn't matter if it changes from day to day. Just what do you love? What fills you with joy? What gives you that energy? At the end of the day, the only thing that we all have is right now, this moment. It's what you're experiencing. Loving what you do, how you spend your time. That's the point of all of it. The point of life is that. In each transient moment that passes by, doing something that fills you with joy. Nobody can give you that. You've got to build that life. So go out. Figure out what it is that you want to do. And brick by brick, have the courage to build that life.
As Henry Rollins said, I don't have talent, so I just get up earlier. The thing that people think about becoming great, about doing the extraordinary, is that it's just meant for some people and not meant for others. And they spend their time making other people extraordinary as a way to let themselves off the hook. Because if somebody is just gifted, if they were blessed by God, if they were touched by an angel, and they just have something that you don't and something that you never will have, then it's fine for them to be great and you to be ordinary. But the reality is it's not how it works. But somehow the cultural narrative has become one where we celebrate natural talent. That if somebody is graced by God, that if they have something divine about them, that they're somehow better, that it's more beautiful than the scrappy person who's had to work for everything they've ever had. The guy who simply acknowledges, like Henry Rollins, that he doesn't have more talent than the next person. He's simply willing to outwork them. He's willing to set the alarm, to get up, to do whatever it takes, to find his path, to create that skill, to outwork talent, to show that by putting in that energy and that effort, there's a magnification effect that is far greater than anything that could be given to you, bestowed upon you. You have to grab it. You have to take it. You have to have a level of intensity in your life to be able to leverage it and create something amazing. And as Warren Buffett said, intensity is the price of excellence. If you want to be great, you've got to cultivate that intensity. You've got to understand it's not about what you were born with. It's not about what you were given, where you started, or even where you're going. It is entirely about what you plant at the center of your soul, how hard you're willing to go after something, how much focus you're willing to put in your life, and how often you come back to that level of intensity for who you want to be. Because if you want to be excellent, you will have to pay a price. And that price is eternal vigilance. Vigilance over how you spend your time. Vigilance over the demands you make of yourself. Vigilance over what you allow yourself to think and believe. And when you get to the point that you only allow yourself to think and believe things that move you towards your goals, that every day the actions you take are things that are designed to get you there, and that you have the intensity to follow that through, to shape yourself, to create a new version of you capable of doing something extraordinary, then your life is going to be what you want. But not until then. It's never going to be anything if you just make other people extraordinary and say, I could never do that. But the reality is you could, and you're just not. So the thing that you have to face right now is that it is within your grasp. You just have to go after it.
Everything around you is incredible if you're willing to look at it that way. Everything around you can be taken for granted if that's your perspective. But it really is about the frame that you choose to put around things. I mean, simply being alive is already insane. The odds are so stacked against you, not only just being a human, but being a human at this moment in time. This moment in time where breakthroughs in technology are happening at an unprecedented rate, where breakthroughs in medical science are happening at an unprecedented rate, where our ability to connect with people, to empathize with people all the way around the globe, all of the changes that have happened in technology and telecom and connectivity, health, everything. We're living in the most miraculous time ever. But you have to look at it that way. And as Joseph Campbell said, life is a wonderful, wonderful opera, except that it hurts. So the question is, do you see it as the beautiful opera? Or do you just pay attention to the pain? And at the end of the day, you're going to get what you focus on. They're both true. This is both the most amazing time that's ever happened, ever in recorded history. And yet real things that are terrifying are also happening. But where you put your energy, where you put your attention, where you put your focus is going to determine what you see. And that is the most fascinating and the most important thing you have to understand about the way that your mind works. You get what you focus on. If you focus on the things that are bad, they will become real. They will become exaggerated. They will begin to monopolize your thoughts. You'll see them everywhere. It's called the reticular activating system. Your mind is literally designed to pay attention to the things that you notice. Once you notice a certain car, you see it everywhere. Once you notice a certain dog, you see it everywhere. Once you hear a certain name for the first time, suddenly you realize that that name has been all around you this entire time. But now that you're focusing on it, now that you're looking for it, it is everywhere. So whatever you look for, it's going to be everywhere. If you look for the negative, it'll be there. But if you look for the positive, it will overwhelm you. As Kurt Vonnegut, one of the greatest authors in modern times, said, "When I write, I feel like an armless, legless man with a crayon in his mouth." But he still did it. And that's the kind of thing that you're going to hear from the greats. You're not going to hear that it was easy. You're not going to hear that they felt suave and cool. Even the greatest of all time have that awkwardness and that clumsiness. They're never quite as good as they want to be. But what I want you to understand is, even though Kurt Vonnegut said those words, he wrote tons of books that changed people's lives, that changed the landscape of literature, because despite the fact that he felt awkward and clumsy, he kept doing it and forcing himself to move forward, to take one step after another, even when the process was not exactly rewarding. He believed in something. He knew that what he was trying to do would ultimately get better. He knew that if he wanted to accomplish something great, that he had to push through the awkwardness. And that is the very trick to getting great. You just have to do it. You have to go, you have to take that first step, you have to push, you have to drive, you have to strive every time to get a little bit better. You have to strive not to fall prey to your own doubts and insecurities. And as Joe Namath said, if you aren't going all the way, why go at all? As Harun Yahya noted, I always wonder why birds stay in the same place when they can fly anywhere on earth. And then I ask myself the same question. As Mark Twain put it, the secret of getting ahead is getting started. And that's where people get stuck. You're literally like the bird. You could fly anywhere you want. You can go anywhere you want to go. And look, I know you've got a litany of excuses, and all of them are valid. You've got a job, you can't just leave, or you don't have a job and you don't have the money. Your family is in one place. It's the only thing that you've ever known. You only speak one language. You've never traveled before. You don't have a passport. You can't afford the gas money. There are 1,000 real reasons not to go. But the truth is that none of them matter. The truth is, if you want to build something in your life, that you have to remember what Mark Twain said. You have to get started, because at the end of the day, that is literally the only thing that's holding you back. You're not moving. And once you get the simplicity of that, once you understand that you could act right now, you could say all the excuses. You could stop making them. You could stop giving into them, no matter how valid they are, no matter how real they may seem. You can finally decide that you're going to get up and move, that you're going to create that momentum, that you're going to take a step, that you're going to make the demand, that you create momentum, that you get something done, that you find an answer, or as Hannibal said, that you're going to find a way or make one. If you have to carve through rock, do it, because humans before you have done it. And that's the simple truth. That is the simple truth, and everything else is bullshit. Everything else is the weak voice in your mind holding you back and making you a less version of yourself. So I ask you, why doesn't the bird fly wherever it wants to go? Because that's all it's known? Because that's what's safe? Because that's what's comfortable? Or because it's a dumb animal? What do you want to be? If this isn't the life you want to live, do something about it.
As Ralph Waldo Emerson said, we're all inventors, each sailing out on a voyage of discovery, guided each by a private chart of which there is no duplicate. We're all lost at sea. We're all on this grand adventure. But the punchline is we have no idea where we're going. And the map that we have is private only to us. And it's quite frankly blank, and it's about filling it in. It's about learning where you are. It's about finding guideposts and beginning to build this map only from that which you've done. And so you have to go blindly forward. And the only thing that's going to give you the courage to step into that abyss, to step into the truly unknown, into the dangerous world before you, truly into a sea of infinite peril, the only thing that's going to give you the courage to do that is that you can learn, that you'll figure it out. It's not going to be easy, it's going to be hard, and at times it is truly going to be life-threatening, but that is the nature of life. And as you're out there in the wilderness, as you're out there lost at sea, all you have to do is remember two things. It is an adventure, and adventures are never safe, but the rewards of an adventure are the discovery of something entirely new. And two, you can do it. You can do it. The very fact that you're a human gives you the ability to process your surroundings, to figure things out, to go in and fumble around. You're not going to look good. You're going to drink a ton of ocean water, and it is going to suck, and you're going to be vomiting over the sides, and it is going to be difficult. And there are going to be times where you're convinced you're going to drown. But if in those moments you stay clear-headed and you focus on getting better, you focus on the adventure, you don't worry about the outcome. You just focus on right now, in this moment, with everything going wrong, what can I learn? To calm yourself and to remember right there, if you're panicking, you're asking the wrong question. If you're panicking, you're asking questions about how you look. You're asking questions about how this is going to end up. If you want to kill your panic, in any moment, ask yourself right then and there, what can I learn? What can I learn from this? Life is nothing but practice. And as long as you keep that in mind, as long as you understand it's never performance, it's always practice. It's simply an opportunity to learn and get better. Then you can reframe the entire ordeal that you're going through. And as Paulo Coelho said, people are capable at any time in their lives of doing what they dream of. But it's only going to come true through that process of learning and discovery and putting yourself out there and going into the unknown.
But if you're never willing to step off because all you can see are the problems, all you can see are the things that could go wrong, then you never get the chance to learn. But the way that humans learn is through engagement, is through interacting. And if you don't dare to do that, if you don't dare to step out into the unknown and to flounder around and look stupid and embarrass yourself, then you're never going to grow. And if you never grow, then you're never going to make your dreams come true. So if you have that dream locked inside of you, know that the only way to get it out is to risk, to dare, to strive, to try, to grow, to grope, to fall, to fail, to learn, and ultimately succeed. That's the only way that dreams come true. Greatness is the most demanding mistress you're ever going to encounter. And I understand the advice that I'm about to give you is not for everyone. Most people should turn this off. But if you're going to stick with me, if you're going to listen to what I have to say, it's because you want something tremendous in your life. You want to stand out from everyone else. You want to do something more than other people think is possible. You literally want to stand outside the norm. And if that's the case for you, then understand that, as Albert Einstein said, only one who devotes himself to a cause with his whole strength and soul can be a true master. For this reason, mastery demands all of a person. If you want to get great, if you really want to make a skill set your own, if you want to be able to do something, and at the end of the day, if you want to transform the world, if you want to make grand changes, if you want to do all of that shit, all the empty words that people spout all the time, let me tell you, the only thing that's going to separate you from all the other blowhards who are just talking words and will never do anything is to give yourself over completely, to let that obsession, let that thing that you love completely consume you. And in that, your only chance to really become great lies. Here's the harsh reality. You're just not good enough yet. As Brian Tracy said, your true success in life begins only when you make the commitment to become excellent at what you do. This is the gap that I see in most people's lives. They've not yet made the commitment to become extraordinary. And the reason that they haven't made that commitment yet is they don't believe that they can. They're afraid of what it might take to get there. They just don't want it enough. That's the reality. Most people don't want it enough to face all of that. They don't want to face their inadequacies. They don't want to accept that they're going to have to go through that process, that gut-wrenching, back-breaking process of becoming great. And every day lulls them into this sense that there's always time to do it tomorrow. But the reality is there is only now. There is only today. And if you really want to do something with your life that leaves your own jaw on the floor, that leaves you in awe of what you've done, you're going to have to admit you're not yet good enough. That you've got to put in that work. That you've got to develop a set of skills that simply can't be denied. But if you do that, on the other side of getting that good at falling in love with something and working so hard that you can feel yourself changing as a human being, on the other side of that is something unimaginably beautiful. And as Les Brown said, if you set goals and go after them with all the determination you can muster, your gifts will take you places that will amaze you. That's what I want in my life, and I hope that's what you want in yours, is to be amazed at how extraordinary this life really is, this opportunity to make of yourself anything you want to be. Really think about that for a second. You can become anything you want to become. You can become an astronaut, a world-class athlete, a musician, the best parent that this world has ever seen. Anything you want is yours for the taking. But it takes effort. It takes a willingness to stare nakedly at your inadequacies. It takes a willingness to really gut check yourself about where you are today. And it doesn't mean that you can't go and be something better tomorrow. And falling in love with that process, that knowing that being a human and really getting the most out of your potential is that. To know that tomorrow I can be better than I am today, and that doesn't make you a bad person today. It's okay to know that you can be better tomorrow and still love yourself today. But it's also okay to love yourself today and demand that you get better tomorrow. And once you can do that, there is literally nowhere you can't go. As Buckminster Fuller said, there's nothing in a caterpillar that tells you that it's going to be a butterfly. And welcome to the human condition. That's the truth of what it's like to be a person. You're hoping that you turn inward and see some sign, some glimmer, some gift that you have that's been bestowed upon you, that you were born with, that is your very birthright. But there's nothing. You were born hopelessly average. And the sooner that you accept that, the sooner that you accept that you are no better than anyone that came before you and everyone that's going to come after you. But all of us have potential. And so the question becomes, the question you have to answer with your very life, the question that your actions will answer. What are you going to do with that potential? Will you actuate it? Will you bust your ass to get good? Will you get so good over time that you can play with the greats? Will you get so good that people look at you with awe? Can you get so good that you become the excuse that other people use not to try? Can you get so good that people have to dismiss you as naturally talented? Can you get so good that people refuse to believe that they can get that good? Can you work so hard, gaining a set of skills and driving yourself day after day to get better, never accepting who you are, always pushing yourself forward, always demanding more, and seeing the beauty in what you can become, and knowing that even today, as a caterpillar with nothing to indicate that you'll become a butterfly, can you become the butterfly through sheer force of will? Because if you can become that, you become a beacon of hope not for other people, for yourself, because you prove that there really are no limits. And as Walt Disney said, you may not realize it when it happens, but a kick in the teeth may be the best thing in the world for you. Why? Because it's the thing that's going to make you react. It's the thing that's going to hold you down. It's the thing that is going to make you say, never again. No more. I refuse to accept this about myself. I refuse to accept that I'm average. I refuse to accept that I can't be something more. I refuse to stop when something kicks me in the teeth. I refuse to stop when people hate on me or tell me that I can't do something. I refuse to be dictated to by anyone, even my own potential. I refuse to be held back by anything, least of all me. As Oprah Winfrey said, what you dwell on is what you become. Once you understand that humans are the ultimate adaptation machine, and you understand that the brain actually builds faster and better connections between the things that you think on, you will begin to understand that it is incredibly important to be thoughtful about what you think about. It's incredibly important to pick a direction that you want to grow in, to decide who you want to become, and then make that the center of your focus, your thoughts, your time, your energy. And if you look inward or if you look outward and you don't like what you see, remember what Jim Rohn said. If you don't like how things are, change it. You're not a tree. And that's the beauty. That's the beautiful thing about being a human. We are so plastic and we can change so dramatically. We are so good at adapting that we forget that's literally what we do. But if you can take control of that process, if you can grab a hold of it and make it your own, if you can make it your daily obsession to make the most of your potential, to pick a very specific direction, to pick an end goal, an end state, an end identity, and work your way backwards, find out the steps that you're going to need to take to get there, to execute, and have the willingness to put in the work, to have the willingness to be both the sculptor and the clay, to understand that the suffering that comes with that, of changing yourself, of making yourself into something great, is a suffering well worth it. It's a suffering that you should embrace. It's a suffering that you should run towards, because in that suffering you can become anything you want. So start to dwell on that. Dwell on a vision of you being great. Dwell on a vision of you accomplishing your goals. Dwell on a vision of you having done this amazing thing that you want to do. Dwell on an image of you being willing to sweat and bend yourself in half and break if need to and bleed when necessary to become the vision of yourself you always knew you could become. Dwell on that and nothing can stop you.
Now, if you don't know this quote, live by it. One can have no smaller or greater mastery than mastery over oneself. That's Da Vinci. Da Vinci did amazing things with his life. I wanted to do equally amazing things with mine. And if that's the game that we're playing, if I can construct my belief system, if I can choose at any moment to believe something that's more empowering than I was believing the moment before, and that will actually find its way into my actions, allow me to do things that I couldn't do the moment before, then it's like that moment in The Matrix where Neo realizes he knows Kung Fu. And that's like, as funny as that is, that's how I think about life. To me, the very fundamental purpose of life is to find out how many skills I can acquire that have utility, and then put that utility to the test in service of something greater than myself. How many skills can I acquire that have utility, put that utility to the test in service of something greater than myself? That is, for me, the purpose of life. Now, I don't actually want to know Kung Fu. That is not the mission that I'm here to live. But I knew that I had to identify my mission. So what was going to be my mission? Mother Teresa has an amazing quote. Nobody will act for the many, but people will act for the one. And that really struck me, because I realized they were right. I was looking at this global pandemic of ill health, and I wasn't moving into action, but thinking about my mom and my sister, or the uncle I had who ate himself to death when I was 12 years old. That made me want to act.
I remember this was a piece of advice that my father-in-law gave me that I promptly ignored, and don't worry, I've since apologized to him and very much adopted this mentality. But he said the most important thing in business is to know more about the topic than anybody else in the room. And if you don't see an echo of that in my preparation for the interviews, and I'm not doing a good job of explaining it, that was something that when he said it, I am so sad to report that it did not hit me. But for whatever weird reason, it really stuck with me. And it was one of those things that I thought about and thought about and thought about. And then it finally manifested itself in me realizing that to get good at anything, whether that's business, whether that's interviewing, it really is that level of preparation. It is about going above and beyond to get good at something. And I was thinking about this last night at the event, and there's always like 1,000 questions that I get asked about how you build a business, whatever your dream is, how do you go and actually manifest it? And the honest answer to everything is get better. Get better. And I've had really talented artists begin reaching out to me on Instagram, because obviously that's a huge focus for us. And the next phase is going to be getting writers, getting artists, bringing them together, creating amazing comic books in phase one. And they'll have like a really small following, and they'll say, what am I doing wrong? What's the secret? And the truth is, even though they're really good, they've got to get a lot better. And when you can be world-class, but admit that you're not yet undeniable, because there's, unfortunately, a lot of people that are world-class. Like, think about it. You make it to the Olympics. Your whole life, you've been busting your ass. You finally make it. You're one of the best in your country. Truly a world-class player. But you come in 7th, 8th. You haven't gotten to the point where you're so good that you can't be ignored. And that, in today's world where social media rules everything and anyone can get on there, create noise, you've got to find a way to cut through the clutter. And the way to cut through the clutter, there's more, and I will recommend Perennial Seller by our boy Ryan Holiday. Really interesting book, really excited. I think we've booked him for November. That'll be a lot of fun. But in his book, he talks about several of the other things you're going to do. But I'll say that the most important one is to get so good that you cannot be ignored. Cannot be ignored. So if you're being ignored, by the way, the world has told you that you've not yet gotten to where you want to get to. So everybody knows my obsession with Disney. Read the Disney biography. In times of trouble, Disney always came back around to make the product better. Make the product better. This is somewhere that I think a lot of people get lost, is they don't spend any effort making sure that the thing that they're doing with their life is actually something that generates excitement. It builds excitement. It gives to them more than it takes. Now, it doesn't mean I'm not exhausted at the end of my days. I am really tired, but I am having a ball. I'm having a ball. It's fun. I believe in what I'm doing. I'm excited by what I'm doing. And so that's where you should be spending the vast majority of your time. But that's all stuff about striving to do more, to be more. I'm excited to acquire the skills. I'm excited to push myself. It isn't a dark and dingy place. Like, I'm legitimately amped up to do it. And that's what I want people to understand. Like, the amount of hours that I work, the hardcore way that I'm driven, the overwhelming majority of that energy comes from a place of excitement. It comes from a place of being enthusiastic about what I'm doing. There is 20%. It's the dark side. I leverage it. It is a real thing for me, and it helps me in those acute moments when, for whatever reason, the excitement just isn't enough at that moment. Then I will think about the people who wish me ill. Then I will think about the things that are dragging me down. Then I will focus on the inadequacies in my life, and that I demand that I get better at those things 100%. But it's an 80-20 split. You've got to learn to balance that split. You've got to put something that you give a shit about at the center of your life. That is so, so, so important.
Never give up on what you really want to do. The person with big dreams is more powerful than the person with all the facts. H. Jackson Brown. Truer words have never been spoken. It is one of the most interesting things about the human condition that all of the facts in the world, no matter how true something may objectively really be, the only thing that matters is whether or not you've got the energy to see through to the end of what you want to do. And the energy comes not from truth. The energy comes from your dream. The energy comes from what it is that you want to do. The energy ultimately is born out of what you want to create. It's born out of a willingness to allow yourself to dream. It's born out of a willingness to think that you actually can do it. It's born out of a willingness to take that first step. But the only reason that you're going to take that first step is you believe that you can actually make your dreams come true. And that sense of this thing that you have in your mind, that you can make it real, that you can bring it into the real world and have that excitement that you've long fantasized about and understand and really feel in your gut, that thing that you've dreamed about can be real. And when you have that, that's when you're going to have the energy that you need to push and to fight and to go through all of the difficult things that you're going to have to get on the other side and make that dream real. As Ferdinand Foch said, the most powerful weapon on earth is the human soul on fire. But the human soul can't be on fire without a dream. A human soul is not fed by facts. A human soul is fed instead by a belief that it can accomplish what it wants to accomplish. It's fed by that thing, that idea that you've had in your mind, that you fanned those flames of interest and turned it into a real fascination and fanned those flames further into excitement and allowed yourself to truly embody that belief that you can make it happen. So right now, whatever it is, whatever crazy dream you have, and we all have one, stop judging yourself for it. Stop telling yourself that you can't do it, and understand when you cultivate that fire, when you take that little ember and you fan it into a raging inferno, that thing, that human soul on fire is what's going to allow you to build something that the world has never seen before. But it starts with that dream. It starts with your willingness to cultivate that, to think about it, to allow yourself to do that, because so many people stop themselves. They think they're inadequate. They think that they could never do it. And even if that is a fact, it's not something that's going to help you live a life that excites you. It's not something that's going to help you excite other people. The one thing that will do that is the dream. So right now, allow yourself that, simply to dream.
When I hear people where their reaction is to about a problem, like you and I were talking, you being Hispanic is working against you. Jason, you being an African American, it's working against you. Like, you're going to have to go uphill. But now what? You're going to sit and complain about it? Because it won't help you, right? So if you have a goal, it's like, it does suck that women have to work harder to get to the same place that as a white male in America that I have to get to. But if it is true, if we're all going to accept that it's true, we can all sit there and go, we need to focus on the systems. Fair enough, and I'm glad that some people do that. The other option, though, is to say, well, I completely control me. And the one thing I will tell any human being alive right now, there is always room for the best. And once you're able, through your skills that have utility, to move somebody else closer to their goal, you will become a hot commodity, no matter what. No matter what. Okay? Think about the scientists. What were the scientists after World War II? Right before they were scientists for us, they were Nazis. But we were way happy to let go of that because they had crazy skills that we needed, right? So really what it comes down to is, what are your skills? Like if you've got skills that can be used to build something beautiful, to do something wonderful to the world, to help people move towards their goals, that will excite the masses because they want that thing that you're going to create, that it's going to improve people's lives. But only thing that mattered in all of that was you got really good at something. And somewhere along the way, we lost that the punchline is, no matter what you do to the system, you as an individual need to get extraordinary at something. And so my encouragement to people is, go get extraordinary. Like, don't worry about whether the system is broken or not. We built Quest, $1 billion company, in less than 5 years coming out of the Great Recession. So, what was it? In the Great Depression, more millionaires were created in the Great Depression than any other time in history. It's like, it just comes down to somebody goes, honestly, this is how I react. The system is too big and complicated. I'm too afraid to try to get caught up in fixing that. I'm too big of a chicken. There, I just said it. I'm too big of a chicken to deal with that. But I can deal with myself. I can go get extraordinary, right? So focus on that. Go get extraordinary. Go become the best of whatever it is you want to be. But go become the best of it and see how the world opens to you.
And as Bruce Lee said, if you always put limits on everything you do, physical or anything else, it will spread into your work and into your life. There are no limits. There are only plateaus, and you must not stay there. You must go beyond them. Even in the statement, you can see him making the choice about what to believe by saying that there are no limits, by taking something that other people perceive as a limit, as something that's stopping him, and saying that's not, it's a plateau, it's something that I can push through. And you see what he holds himself accountable to. It's not okay to stay at a plateau. It's okay to have one. Everybody has them. They happen. It's a natural part of the course of getting better, but it is not okay to stay there. And that is a choice. That's not something anyone can hand you. It's something you have to believe to the core of your soul, that it is not okay to stay in a plateau. And it's that that's going to push you through. It's that that's going to make you get up and keep going. But first, you have to recognize that life is cause and effect. You have to recognize that that choice is a knock-on effect. You have to recognize that him merely saying those words out loud have a cause and effect. They change the course of his life, the expectations that other people have of him, expectations that he has of himself. And because he understands that he can control the outside world by first controlling what's inside, by changing his belief system to match what he wants to accomplish, he's then able to accomplish. What he did in his life had nothing to do with luck. It had everything to do with the demands that he made on himself. It had to do with when he got in a motorcycle accident and people told him he would never walk again. Not only did he walk again, all of the major accomplishments that we think about of being that man, they all came after. They came after he was told he was never going to walk. It came after he was told that he was never going to be able to do martial arts. But he did it. He did the grueling work of getting better. He understood cause and effect. He understood that if he chose to believe that he could never do it, that he'd never be able to do it. But that if he chose to believe that by working out he could get stronger and get better and get back to it, that he could. And that's what he did. So now ask yourself, is your life dictated by luck or cause and effect? Are you in control? Or is it somebody else? Is someone else in control? Or is it you? And if it's you, go build the life that you want, because there's nothing stopping you but you.
There isn't a better way to live your life. There's no right way and wrong way. There is only the way that gives you more energy. There is only the way that gives you fulfillment. When you have those things, when you're fulfilled by what you're doing and it's giving you, the harder you pursue it, it's giving you more energy, you're on the right path. As the Greeks would say, segolodromo, I can't believe I messed that up. Segolodromo, which means you're on a good road. And that's what I want people to understand. Like, yes, I preach a very specific path, but I don't think that it is a universal path. And so the only universal path is to do the things that give you fulfillment and energy. So if spending time with your friends gives you that, then you should be spending more time with your friends. If dating gives you that, then you should be dating. So you don't need to want to be the best in the world at something. You don't need to want to make a lot of money. You don't need to want to be an entrepreneur. They're literally just stand-ins. They're proxies for fulfillment and energy creation. That's it. So those are the punchlines of what's the meaning of life and all of that stuff. It is to do something that makes you feel a deep sense of well-being, which I'll call fulfillment, and something that gives you energy, where you're literally excited to attack the day.
As Franz Kafka said, you are free. That is why you are lost. Look around you. There are no guardrails on your life. The reality is that people have tried to paint a picture for you that says that there are certain things that are right. They've tried to paint a world for you that has a path well laid for it, for you to follow. Go to school, get good grades, get a degree, get a job, retire. That's the plan that everybody wants you to believe is really the plan. But the reality is that you are free to choose anything you want. The reality is that you can go in any path you want. The reality is that path is an illusion. The truth of life is you can go anywhere you want. You can be anything that you want. You can become anyone you want to become. At the end of the day, the choice is yours. At the end of the day, you get to construct yourself. You get to decide what it is that you want to believe, as long as you're not violating the laws of physics. Even physics is a game of maybe. Even physics is uncertain and unknown. At the end of the day, everything that you get to do, you get to choose, you get to create, you get to build something that you want to be. And in that, that's where people get lost. They don't understand that the control is theirs. They're lost because they think there's a path. They think there's a way forward. And emotionally, it doesn't resonate. Emotionally, they're unable to make it feel real because it doesn't feel real. They feel lost. They're unsure. They don't know where to go or who to become or even who they are. And that sense of being lost comes from the freedom of being able to choose anything you want. But no one told you that you could choose. But as Tupac Shakur said, reality is wrong. Dreams are for real. It's the dream that you want to focus on. The dream is your ability to construct that path. The dream is you saying, this is the way that I want to walk. The dream is you saying all of this nothingness, all of this mass confusion, all of this probability and uncertainty. I am going to manifest something real and concrete and directional in my life. I choose to be who I am. I choose to be who I become. I choose to build something with my hands, to create something that has never been seen before, to do something that people have never done before, to believe in things that other people cannot see. That dream is my reality. That dream is what I'm going to bring into existence. That dream is the thing that I believe in. And in believing in that dream and building that path and finding out and deciding who you want to be, for the first time you will find yourself in yourself becoming. So go become what you want to be. Don't worry about walking somebody else's path.
Here is the reality about money. So the reason that people chase it, even though I know you've heard 1,000 times, and it is absolutely true, money can't buy happiness. That if you're chasing money, the odds of you ending up with some level of dissatisfaction is incredibly high. But the reason that people ignore that, and the reason that they keep chasing it, and the reason that I myself live the cliche of money can't buy happiness, is because money actually does have power. Now, the thing that money lets you do, the thing that gives it that power, the reason that people will chase forever and ever and ever is it is the great facilitator. Now, being the great facilitator does not mean that it gives you the thing that you secretly want in your life. So here's the punchline about happiness. The goal of all of this, the goal of this game of life that we're all playing, it is not money, it is not success, it is entirely brain chemistry. It's entirely how you feel about yourself when you're by yourself. It's about being deeply fulfilled. It's about being proud of who you are. Now, those are all, for me,
synonyms. It's the same thing, which I'm just going to shorthand to fulfillment. The thing you're chasing is fulfillment. It's the only thing that doesn't sway with the wind. So happiness, in its typical definition, is very transient. So I want to shift people over to thinking about fulfillment. Fulfillment is often born of suffering. It's born of not doing something you want to do. It's born of doing the hard things. Being proud of yourself comes from that. Being proud of yourself comes from working your ass off to acquire a set of skills that, by the way, in and of themselves, in acquiring it, you found that pleasurable. It's something that you're interested in. You've hopefully crafted, developed, built a deep passion around. And in acquiring those skills, in service of that thing that you love and enjoy, you're able to serve other people. That's it. That's the truth of happiness. That's the truth of the thing that is going to give you that sense of fulfillment, that's going to allow you to enjoy your life. Money is never, ever, ever in and of itself going to do that. Money buys cool shit. Money is able to give you those temporary dopamine rushes of going and shopping for something and getting it, and then it's cool, but then that coolness factor wears off very rapidly. The flip side of that, using that money to build something that you believe in, that not only empowers you, but helps empower other people, that will help you develop long-lasting fulfillment. So that's the real thing. But if you're doing something that isn't making you a lot of money, but you're passionate about it, you enjoy the day-to-day, and it's allowing you to build skills that serve you and other people, I promise you, if you had to choose between the two, which by the way you don't, but if you had to choose between the two, always and forever, every single time, choose fulfillment.
Tom, am I going to make it? Do I have what it takes? When you look into my future, can you see me making it? And I'm going to cut to the chase for all of you, and you're going to mistake what I'm about to say for good news. And then I'm going to tell you why it's actually the worst thing I could tell you. You all meet minimum requirements. You all meet minimum requirements. So whatever it is you want to do, I'm not going to say that it's going to be easy for you because you're ultra smart or something. You probably aren't. But everyone that I've encountered here, literally, without exception, every single person that has come up to me and said something, you meet minimum requirements. Even you awkward that have a hard time like making eye contact. Even you guys, I'm telling you right now, you've got some shit you're going to have to deal with, but you meet minimum requirements. Now, minimum requirements for what? For whatever you want. Now, that sounds great, right? Oh, shit. Tom said I can make it. This is amazing. But all I've actually said is now, if you don't make it, it's on you. And that's it. There's nobody else to blame. Everything is your fault. Everything. People get the do part. They understand their actions should be actions that take them towards what they want to accomplish. But people often miss the most important part, which is only to believe things that move you towards your goals. And I see people every day that tell themselves a story about themselves that they are worthless, that they're meaningless, that they're pointless, that their friends and family would be better off if they just died. So we have to find a way to construct a narrative about ourselves that empowers us, that lifts us up, even though we make mistakes, even though we fall down, even though we're never going to get things right all the time, and even though terrible things happen to us. Or maybe we do terrible things. But in that, the erosion of the self, that's the danger. The erosion of the self, that is the danger. And when I talk to people about the 80-20 principle, 80% of the time you should be focused on the things that you love, the beautiful things that you want to bring to this world, the beautiful things that are already in the world. And 20% of the time you should be kicking yourself in your ass and saying you can do better. It's such a powerful idea. But the problem is when people get to the 20%, they forget that it's only supposed to be 20% of the time. And that it's meant to be these acute moments where you're pushing yourself to be more, to do more. It isn't so you can tear yourself down. That's why you have to do and believe that which moves you towards your goals. And if thinking that you're a worthless piece of shit moves you to your goals somehow, then fine, do it. But I can't literally fathom a universe in which that would be a logical way to move forward. So I'm going to give you the magic words that you need right now to never fall prey to that. Believing I'm worthless does not serve me, and I don't do things that don't serve me. Repeat that in your head every time you begin to disparage yourself.
I want to dispel a myth for you. It's the talent myth. It's the belief that some people were just born with more than others, that some people are naturally gifted and some aren't, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles, and whatever you're going to be is essentially determined by how you started, that your DNA is exactly your destiny. I'm here to tell you right now, that's bullshit. It's just not true. It's not the truth of the way that humans are designed. As a species, we're the ultimate adaptation machine. The very thing that puts us at the top of the pyramid is our ability to adapt. It is the fact that the brain is plastic, that it responds to change, it responds to stressors, it responds to repetition. And repetition is a slave to obsession. As Conor McGregor said, there's no talent here. This is hard work. This is an obsession. You could be anyone if you put in the time. That's one of the greatest athletes of our time telling you that he's not the result of genetics. He's not the result of natural gifts. He hasn't been bestowed something by God. He has shown up day after day in the most mundane of conditions, on the cold days, on the hot days. He put in the work because he was obsessed with what he could become. And that repetition that you need to actually gain a skill follows that obsession. So in you right now, today, you want to start building that obsession. You want to look at it like an ember that can become a raging fire, but it needs your time and attention. It needs your time and attention. You've got to take that interest. You've got to take that spark of desire and you've got to fan the flames. You've got to turn it into that obsession. And from that obsession, if you put in the work, if you do the things day in and day out, the backbreaking work, pushing through the pain, fighting through, feeling like an idiot, fighting through embarrassment, getting up, brushing yourself off, doing it again, practicing, putting yourself at somebody's feet and asking, what could I have done better? Not look at the things that you're doing well, but look at the things that you're doing wrong. Look at the things that you're doing poorly, staring at your inadequacies with no loss of pride. Because the only thing you value in yourself is your willingness to do that, your willingness to work your ass off. And as Sylvester Stallone said, I'm not the richest, smartest, or most talented person in the world, but I succeed because I keep going and going and going. And that's the secret. As Maya Angelou said, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. That's some of the best advice you're ever going to hear. At the end of the day, you should always be trying to change the things that you have the ability to change. But there are inevitably going to be things that you can't change, but you're never helpless. You're never a victim. In that moment, you still have the unbelievable ability to choose to look at it in a new way, to choose to reframe it. And in that reframing, you change everything. You don't just change your own neurochemistry. You're not just changing the way that you feel. You're actually changing the way that you're going to approach the problem. Something that was moments before, something that seemed impossible, something that was breaking your will to continue to fight, with a change in attitude becomes something completely different. And as Hans Selye said, adopting the right attitude can turn a negative stress into a positive one. And that game of mental jujitsu is what it's about. That game of flipping something on its head, of turning something around, of seeing it in a new way so that you can act in a new way is how you make forward progress. And understanding that, understanding the need to take control of your perceptions
Understanding that, understanding your need to change your perspective, that's how you begin to get ahead. Once you understand that your perspective is a choice, it is not objective truth. Burn that into your mind. It is not objective truth. The world that you see around you is simply the perspective through which you see it. All of life is a funhouse mirror. And when you acknowledge that, when you understand that you're looking at a distorted view of the way the world is, you realize that you can adopt a different distortion. You can adopt a distortion that allows you to see things more clearly, that allow you to see things in a way that empower you. And that should always be the first step, is figuring out not what is, not what you can change, but instead understanding what you need to change it to. And understanding that that change comes from inside you. It isn't a manifestation that you have to make in the outside world first. It's a change you have to make inside yourself. It is a shift of perspective. It is simply stepping to the side of what you're used to and how you're used to seeing things, and understanding that in reframing things, you take that negative and turn it into something that builds you up. But you've got to choose. You've got to decide. You've got to believe that you can do it. But once you believe that you can see things in any way that you need to reach your goals, your life will change forever, because you'll actually reach your goals.
Now I've got a special bonus clip from Tom on how to change your identity that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, question of the day, I want to know, what's the number one takeaway that you took from this video that you're going to apply to your life? Put it down in the comments below. And if you made it this far in the video, you're still here watching, you commit, you're promising to take action. We don't just watch a video here, Believe Nation, we do something about it. If that's you, give me a hashtag Believe down in the comments as well, because I want to celebrate you.
Right now, between me and the person I want to be, between you and the person you want to be, there is a gap of skill set, and that's it. But once you know your mission, and once you believe that you can accomplish anything you set your mind to, then you can do the extraordinary. Now for me, getting out of that space of being lost, of not knowing what I wanted to do with my life, it all came down to needing to earn credibility with myself in very small incremental ways. This is me 60 pounds ago. And I knew if I was going to accomplish anything in my life, I was going to have to get control of my mind. Now, ironically, there's two ways to get control of your mind. Way number one is directly going to the mind, which can be very scary, can be very daunting, very ethereal. It's ephemeral, it's hard to grab onto, it's hard to touch. But way number two is through the body. And so I decided that my kung fu was going to be to get very good at developing my body. And in that process, I was going to learn about nutrition, which would allow me to help my mom and my sister. In that process, I was going to earn credibility with myself, and earning credibility with yourself is so important. Do it in micro ways. For me, just showing up to the gym every day was a micro victory. I said I was going to do it, and I did it. Now, you have to understand, I hate working out. So for all of you crazy people that get an endorphin rush from running, I hate you all. Running for me is like being stuffed into a meat grinder. There is absolutely nothing pleasurable about it whatsoever. So whatever neurological thing you guys get that you've been blessed with, I have not been blessed with that. So for me, showing up in the gym sucks. Eating a bowl of ice cream is awesome. And so getting to a better place for me was a totally different journey. Thank you. And what that was just showing up every day and putting in the work. It was reading about human metabolism and understanding how what I eat impacts my body. It was earning a little bit of discipline every day, knowing that, well, I did it yesterday, I can do it again today. It was not eating something that I wanted to eat. And most importantly, and if you're taking notes, write this down, it was about changing my identity. Because at the end of the day, identity and values drive behavior. Amen. Preach. Identity and values drive behavior. So if you want to make a change, you have to change your vision of who you are. You have to begin telling yourself a different narrative. And the narrative you tell yourself about yourself is everything. And if you tell yourself that you're a scared, undereducated kid from Tacoma whose family has never accomplished anything, let me tell you what you will become.
a scared, undereducated kid from Tacoma who never accomplishes anything, because that's what you believe. You tell yourself that story enough, and it will become real. But on the flip side, you could tell yourself a story of you're a learner. You learn faster than most people. You're willing to put in more work than most people. You're willing to read more books than most people. You're willing to spend an inhuman amount of time every day improving your mind simply by getting new ideas into the system. And that you will admit that you're wrong faster than anybody else, that you won't let your ego get in the way. And you tell yourself that story over and over and over. So when somebody comes and tells you how stupid you are, that you're just a dumb kid from Tacoma, you go, you're right, that's amazing. Thank you for pointing out that flaw, because now that I'm aware of it, I can improve it because I'm the learner. And once I switched my narrative to being the learner, it didn't matter where I started, it only mattered where I was trying to go. And as long as I had that clarity, then I could execute, because I believed I could do anything I set my mind to without limitation.
If you want some motivation on how to never give up, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
I like micro failure. I hate macro failure, like death of your business is bad. But